Let's be honest for a second. Getting older changes everything. Your body, your energy, your confidence. And if you're over 50, you've probably noticed that what used to come so naturally in the bedroom doesn't feel the same anymore. Maybe mornings that used to start with strong, reliable erections are now a coin toss. Maybe you've had nights where your drive was there mentally, but your body just didn't cooperate. Or maybe you've noticed a slow, frustrating decline, not enough to panic, but enough to make you wonder if something's wrong. And here's the kicker. Most men chalk it up to just getting old. They shrug it off, laugh about it with their buddies, or worse, keep it bottled up because they don't want to admit it's happening. But the reality is this: age alone isn't the enemy. In fact, I've seen men in their 50s and 60s performing better than guys half their age, simply because they avoided some very common mistakes. The problem is that these mistakes are sneaky. They hide in your daily habits. They show up in the foods you eat, the routines you ignore, and the doctor's visits you skip. They pile up slowly until one day your sex life feels like a shadow of what it used to be. That's why this video matters. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down 5 of the most common mistakes men over 50 make with their sexual health. Mistakes that drain your confidence, your drive, and your performance. But mistakes that can also be fixed if you catch them early. So before you throw in the towel or think, this is just the way it is, stick with me. Because your best years in the bedroom might not be behind you. They might be just getting started. One of the biggest mistakes men over 50 make with their sexual health is assuming that problems in the bedroom are just a natural part of aging. They shrug their shoulders and say, well, I'm not 25 anymore, as if that's the end of the story. But here's the truth: age itself doesn't destroy your performance. It's the lifestyle choices stacked on top of age that do the real damage. Think about your daily routine. You wake up, maybe skip breakfast, grab a coffee loaded with sugar, and rush out the door. Lunch is a quick burger or sandwich with fries. Dinner, maybe some pizza, wings, or whatever's easiest. Add a couple of beers or a glass of whiskey at night to take the edge off. And when it comes to exercise, well, maybe you used to lift weights or run, but now it's more Netflix and recliner than dumbbells and treadmill. All of those choices add up. Poor diet narrows your arteries and clogs your blood flow, which is the #1 thing you need for strong erections. Extra weight packs around your midsection, driving down testosterone and making you feel sluggish. Alcohol might help you relax in the moment, but too much wrecks your sleep and dulls your sexual response. Even stress, the constant pressure of work, finances, or family responsibilities, keeps your body in fight-or-flight mode, which shuts down the very systems you need to perform in the bedroom. Here's the reality: your body is like a car. In your 20s, you could get away with throwing in cheap gas, skipping oil changes, and still running pretty well. But by your 50s, every bad decision shows up under the hood. If you keep ignoring the basics, diet, movement, sleep, stress, you'll keep feeling worse, and no pill or quick fix will undo it. But the flip side is powerful. I've seen men in their late 50s start walking daily, swap out fast food for lean protein and vegetables, cut back on alcohol, and within months, their energy, their confidence, and yes, their ability to get hard improved dramatically. Small adjustments, things like skipping the bacon and sausage on that breakfast sandwich, choosing grilled chicken instead of fried, or cutting TV time in half and using those minutes for a brisk walk, can completely change your trajectory. So if you've been telling yourself it's just age, remember this: your lifestyle is the biggest driver, and the sooner you make changes, the sooner you'll see results where it matters most. Another huge mistake men over 50 make with their sexual health is avoiding the doctor's office. For some reason, men are experts at putting off checkups. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's fear of hearing bad news. Or maybe it's just the thought of sitting in a waiting room, filling out paperwork, and having uncomfortable conversations. Whatever the reason, too many men wait until something is seriously wrong before they finally step through those doors. But here's the harsh reality. Conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and low testosterone don't announce themselves with fireworks. They creep in slowly, quietly, draining your energy, your drive, and your ability to perform. High blood pressure, for example, narrows blood vessels, reducing the flow you need for strong erections. Diabetes damages nerves and circulation. Low testosterone steals your muscle, your mood, and your confidence. Even prostate issues, which become more common as we age, can throw everything off down below. I've seen it firsthand. A patient once brushed off his bedroom struggles as just stress. He waited months before finally getting checked, and when he did, his blood sugar was through the roof. He was on the verge of full-blown diabetes and had no idea. Another man ignored his rising blood pressure, and by the time he finally addressed it, the damage to his circulation made his ED far worse than it needed to be. These are preventable situations, but only if you catch them early. Here's what men don't realize. Going to the doctor isn't just about fixing problems, it's about preventing them. A simple blood panel can tell you if your testosterone is low. A quick checkup can catch blood pressure issues before they spiral. A routine screening can uncover early signs of prostate trouble when it's still easy to manage. These aren't just medical numbers, they're direct connections to your sex life and your overall quality of life. And let's flip the mindset. Too many men think that walking into a doctor's office makes them weak, like they're admitting defeat. But the strongest men I know are the ones who take responsibility for their health. They're the ones who say, "I'm going to take care of this before it becomes a problem." That's not weakness, that's power. So if you've been putting off that checkup, if you've been telling yourself you don't need it, consider this your wake-up call. A 1-hour appointment could save you years of frustration, embarrassment, and struggle. Don't let pride or procrastination rob you of your health and your performance. The third mistake men over 50 make with their sexual health is leaning too heavily on the little blue pill. You know the one I'm talking about. Now, don't get me wrong, medications like Viagra or Cialis can be helpful. They've saved marriages, boosted confidence, and given men hope when they thought all was lost. But here's the catch. They don't fix the problem. They only mask it. Think about it. The pill doesn't give you better circulation. It doesn't raise your testosterone. It doesn't erase stress, repair your arteries, or improve your lifestyle. All it does is temporarily push your body into working harder than it naturally wants to. That means every time you want intimacy, you've got to reach for that bottle, plan ahead, and hope it kicks in when you need it to. And if it doesn't, the anxiety can make things even worse. I've had men tell me stories like this. They finally get a night alone with their partner, they take the pill, they wait, and nothing happens. Suddenly, instead of feeling confident, they're panicking inside. What's wrong with me? Why isn't it working? And that stress becomes another barrier in the bedroom. Even when it does work, they start to wonder, can I even do this without it anymore? That reliance eats away at their confidence over time. And here's the real danger. Using the pill as a Band-Aid lets the real problems keep growing. If your arteries are narrowing, if your blood sugar is creeping up, if your testosterone is dropping, the pill won't stop it. In fact, it tricks you into thinking you're fine while your body continues to struggle underneath. Now, am I saying you should never use it? Not at all. For some men, it's a valuable tool, but it should never be the only tool. Because if you don't address the root cause, circulation, hormone levels, lifestyle choices, stress management, you're just renting results instead of owning them. The men who see the biggest turnarounds aren't the ones who rely on medication alone. They're the ones who use it as a temporary boost while making real changes, cleaning up their diet, losing weight, exercising, reducing alcohol, checking their hormones, and managing stress. That's how you get to a place where intimacy doesn't feel like a scheduled event that depends on a pill. It feels natural again. So if you've been leaning on the little blue pill like it's your only option, I want you to think differently. Don't aim for a quick fix. Aim for lasting results, because when you put in the work to fix the foundation, you won't need to live in fear of whether the pill will show up for you. Your body will. When most men think about sexual health, they focus only on the physical side: blood flow, testosterone, energy levels, and yes, those are critical. But here's the mistake: ignoring the emotional and relationship side of intimacy. Because no matter how strong your body is, if your mind isn't in the right place, and if your connection with your partner is strained, your performance is going to suffer. Let's start with stress. Men in their 50s often carry heavy loads: career pressures, financial responsibilities, family issues, even worries about aging parents or grown kids. All of that stress doesn't just disappear when you walk into the bedroom. Your body carries it with you. Stress ramps up cortisol, your stress hormone, and when cortisol is high, testosterone takes a back seat. Your body literally shuts down sexual performance because it's too busy fighting threats. Then there's anxiety, especially performance anxiety. Maybe you've had a bad experience once or twice, where things didn't go the way you hoped. And now, every time you're intimate, that little voice in your head whispers, "What if it happens again?" That mental pressure can kill the moment before it even begins. I've seen men who were otherwise healthy physically, but the stress in their mind was enough to sabotage them every single time. And we can't ignore the relationship side. If you and your partner aren't communicating, if there's tension, resentment, or distance, intimacy can start to feel like a chore instead of a connection. Think about it. How can you feel confident and relaxed in the bedroom if you've been arguing all week or if you haven't had a real conversation in months? Here's the thing. Fixing this isn't about being perfect. It's about being open. Sometimes it's as simple as telling your partner what you're feeling, admitting you've been stressed, that you've noticed changes, that you want to work on it together. Many men are surprised at how supportive their partners can be once they open up. Other times, it might mean talking to a therapist or counselor, not because you're broken, but because you want tools to handle stress and rebuild connection. I've seen men who thought they needed a prescription when what they really needed was a conversation. One man told me he hadn't spoken openly with his wife in years. They were living like roommates. When he finally sat down with her, shared his fears, and started reconnecting outside the bedroom, his performance issues began to fade. Because for men over 50, sex isn't just about physical performance. It's about intimacy, trust, and connection. So if you've been ignoring this side of your health, don't. Your mind and your relationship are just as important as your body. When you reduce stress, address anxiety, and rebuild intimacy, you create the foundation for better performance, without the pressure, without the fear, and with a lot more enjoyment. The fifth mistake, and maybe the most damaging one of all, is believing it's too late. Too many men over 50 fall into this trap. They see their performance slipping, their energy fading, and they think, well, I guess this is just how life is now. That belief alone can destroy more than age ever could. Here's why this mindset is so dangerous. When you convince yourself it's too late, you stop trying. You stop making changes. You stop caring about the choices that could actually turn things around. You throw in the towel, not because your body can't improve, but because your mind has already given up. But here's the truth. It is never too late. I've seen men in their late 50s, 60s, even 70s who made small changes and saw dramatic results. Take Mark, for example. He was 59, overweight, and convinced his best years were behind him. He didn't feel attractive, didn't feel confident, and intimacy with his wife had all but disappeared. When he finally decided to change, he started simple. A 20-minute walk every morning, switching soda for water, and cutting back on fast food. 6 months later, he was 25 pounds lighter. His blood pressure was under control, and the spark in his marriage was alive again. He told me, "I thought I was too far gone. Turns out I just needed to start." Then there's James, a 65-year-old who hadn't been to a doctor in over a decade. He came in because he was feeling drained and thought it was just aging. But blood work showed his testosterone was low and his cholesterol was sky high. With treatment, better nutrition, and some basic strength training, his energy came back. He said, "I haven't felt this alive since my 40s. I can't believe I waited so long." And I'll never forget Alan, 72 years old. He was a widower who had basically given up. He said he didn't see the point in worrying about his sexual health anymore. But after meeting someone new, he wanted to feel confident again. He started working out with light weights, got his hormones checked, and began managing his stress through meditation. Within months, he wasn't just performing better in the bedroom. He was happier, more social, and more optimistic than he'd been in decades. He told me, "Life didn't end at 70. In some ways, it started all over again." These stories prove one thing: it's not too late unless you decide it is. Your body can adapt, heal, and thrive no matter your age. Circulation can improve, hormones can be rebalanced, confidence can return. What holds most men back isn't biology, it's belief. So if you've been carrying that thought, "I'm too old, I missed my chance, there's no point now," I want you to erase it from your mind. Because the only thing standing between you and a better sex life is the decision to take action. So let's bring this all together. We've covered 5 of the most common mistakes men over 50 make when it comes to their sexual health. First, ignoring lifestyle factors, thinking that food, exercise, sleep, and stress don't matter, when in reality, they're the foundation of everything. Second, avoiding medical checkups, putting off the doctor until it's too late, when a simple test could catch problems early. Third, relying too heavily on the little blue pill, treating symptoms instead of fixing root causes. Fourth, neglecting emotional and relationship health, forgetting that stress, anxiety, and communication matter just as much as testosterone and blood flow. And fifth, believing it's too late, the single most damaging lie a man can tell himself. Here's the truth: every one of these mistakes is fixable. You don't need to accept decline as your destiny. You don't need to carry frustration, embarrassment, or hopelessness into the rest of your life. I've seen men turn things around in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, not because they found a miracle cure, but because they stopped making these mistakes and started making better choices. Remember this: your sexual health is not just about sex. It's about your confidence, your energy, your relationships, and your quality of life. It's about waking up feeling strong, showing up for your partner, and knowing your body is still capable. And that doesn't disappear with age. It only disappears if you give up on it. So if you've recognized yourself in these mistakes, don't beat yourself up. Instead, take it as a sign. Start small. Schedule that checkup. Swap out one unhealthy meal a day. Go for a walk. Have an honest conversation with your partner. Every small step you take adds up to big changes over time. Your best years aren't behind you. They're still ahead, if you're willing to fight for them. And I promise you this: the men who choose to fight, who choose to make changes, are the ones who discover that life after 50 can be stronger, more fulfilling, and more passionate than they ever imagined. If this message resonated with you, don't stop here. We've got more videos breaking down the foods, exercises, and habits that can help you take your health back. Make sure you subscribe and stick around, because your journey doesn't end at 50. It starts fresh today.